right, guys, welcome to the Internet Sports Broadcast Network. And tonight, we just like to cover sports as friends. And we got Donovan on tonight, Smooth Dave, Hurdie. Todd's not with us tonight. He had some stuff he had to take care of. So there'll be three of us tonight. And eventually on the show tonight, we're expecting Silky D, 1985 Chicago Bears World Championship team. Smooth Dave's going to talk to him a little bit, and we're going to ad-lib in behind him. Right, Donovan?
That's right.
All right, so guys, we had a busy sports week, and I just want to know who wants to jump in. Donovan, you want to start us off? You got anything, or are you still catching your breath? I can jump us in.
I'm good. I think the biggest thing I saw this weekend was the fight, the heavyweight fight.
Yep.
And it delivered in a big way. I don't know if y'all both got to see the fight, but I had a room full of people, and it was split 50-50 on who thought was going to win. My mother thought that, my mom thought that Wilder would win. And my dad thought that Tyson Fury would win. And everybody else was split. I mean, even my parents were split with it. It was fun. It's cool to have a room like that, especially, it's fun when everybody's cheering for the one, but it's good when it's both back and forth. But man, Fury just gave a beat down. Goodness gracious.
And I was going to buy it at the last minute, but what time did that actually start?
So it was around 11 o'clock. I think.
11 o'clock, wasn't it late or something like that? And then I just laid there and the feeling went away. But yeah, I didn't. It was a toss-up for me too at the time. I couldn't have told you or picked a winner for that. I would have not known. But yeah, tell us how the fight went in your opinion overall from round to round. What did you see happening?
First, every round it looked like that Fury was in control of the round.
Okay, good.
I mean, and when he caught him, I don't know what round it was second or third round. He caught him, and I was like, it's his legs are gone, and they were. I mean, literally, he was having problems standing up to the last round. And I think they called the fight when they should have called it because he was still standing, but I think the ref and his corner were throwing in a towel right about the same time.
Yeah, there was a little bit of controversy after that fight, wasn't there, about whether they should have continued or discontinued it. But I think the people watching the fight like yourself kind of agreed with the call. That's cool.
Oh yeah. The only thing I didn't like about it, the fight was Wilder's excuse of his legs being out because of the 40-pound costume he wore.
Yeah, unbelievable, right?
Well, I mean, well, for one thing, I'm pretty sure he's run miles and miles with 40-pound jackets on.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe in the third round your legs go.
Because Fury is a big man.
He's a very big man. Yeah.
Has that long reach, and he's strong as an ox. I can't imagine hitting you doesn't hurt anywhere, right? Shoulder, neck, head, stomach, leg, doesn't matter. That's crazy.
If you remember last week, I talked about how he lost weight and was in better shape. He kind of looked like he was in better shape. He kind of looked a little bit like the same, but he was quicker, and he seemed a lot more. His movement was a lot better than the first fight.
Yeah.
And I'd definitely pay to see a third one. I think Wilder would have just as good a chance of winning as Fury in the third one.
Yeah, and don't be surprised. They made so much money on this gig. It was unbelievable. Wasn't it some sort of record-breaking amount of pay-per-viewers, I think I read, or something crazy?
Well, maybe, but I don't think
I'll look it up. I'll look it up later.
Fight,
yeah. Hey, so one thing to recap before we get into when the guest gets here or whatever is, hey, Smooth Dave, you there?
Yeah, I was at a 50th wedding anniversary Saturday night, so I didn't see anything.
Oh, well, There you go. Congratulations to somebody. So, hey, let's recap before we get into some more sports. Let's talk about Kobe's funeral tribute. And Smooth Dave, pretty touching, huh?
Absolutely, man. I guess I don't even know the word to say, the courage it took for his wife to get up there and speak before 20,000 people and many millions watching on TV was unbelievable. Really brought you to tears to listen to her talk about her daughter, what she misses about her, what she's going to miss, and also about her husband.
Yeah.
It really spoke volumes about the family dynamics there and how close the family really was. And then just, the other speakers that they have, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yep.
The guy who, everybody wanted to compare Kobe to, for some people, that may have been their first opportunity to hear about the close relationship that they had. Because most people would think, oh, they would be rivals because he's trying to compare him to the greatest of all time. And they had a big brother, little brother relationship where they talked a lot. Kobe asked Michael different things about what he did to make himself better. And I think one of the things that made me laugh was when Michael talked about a conversation they had. He said, I'm working with my daughter and trying to help her. What did you do when you were 12 years old to make yourself better? He said, well, I was playing baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
it was a tearjerker.
Yeah,
it really was. And you're right. The courage his wife, Smooth Dave, had to get up after just a short amount of time and talk like that was incredible. I don't know what gave her the strength, but it sure did. And also, Michael Jordan was, the whole place was in tears, just to say that. So anyhow, I wanted to just say to our listening audience, we'll miss Kobe. It's still hard. I still have a hard time believing he's no longer with us. I don't know if that makes any sense. It just you just look up and you expect to see him doing something somewhere, right? So
absolutely, and I was thinking that same thing until Monday. Monday
that kind of closed it, didn't it? That kind of closed it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I was thinking the other day about, I think we talked a couple of podcasts ago about it, but kind of like who else out there and like maybe a different sport would you get the same feeling if they passed unexpectedly? And it hit me yesterday. Peyton Manning would be to me comparable because you still see him. He's in commercials here and there. He's one of the best all time, I think, top 5-6 quarterbacks. And if it was to happen to him, it would be kind of the same weirdness. Peyton Manning wasn't as worldly renowned as Kobe was, as far as there's Kobe jerseys being sold in every country in the world,
because for me, Donovan, it'd be somebody like Tiger Woods too. I was thinking about that the other day. If something like that happened, what it would be like. It'd be kind of the same feeling, right? Because they're so well known worldwide. So that's cool. Cool comparison.
Yeah. I think Tiger would be a big one too because he's a worldwide person. So I think our guest might be coming in now.
Okay, cool. Well, I haven't seen him on my list though yet, but just let me know. So,
gentlemen.
Yeah. Hey. All
there
right.
He is.
Silky D.
All this technology stuff is not for an old school brother.
Me neither. Hey, well, welcome. You're speaking with Silky D. You got, of course, Smooth Dave, but Donovan Hughes and myself, Hurdie Burke, we just want to welcome you and thank you for coming on, man. I'm reading your book right now, by the way. I just want to let you know that.
Oh, so you have an opportunity to get inside the Silkster.
I got into the Silkster. I'm at about page 6 or 7. I'm just going really slow. The introduction and the other parts were so good. It's just a great book. Thank you. I bought it and I love it. Good stuff. But I was a Dallas Cowboys fan during that time, so you have to understand we weren't really happy with you guys. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, so this is Donovan. Hey, what's the name of your book? I haven't.
Are you serious? Did you do your research before I came on?
Really? I tried. I tried.
That is bad for a host to not
Hey,
know before
we're
your
a
guest
kitchen
comes
table
on.
we're a kitchen table talk show, man. We just get on and recap. We're not the most professional group in the world, so forgive us.
I totally. I was trying to prop your book up.
Well, from where I come from, that means you don't get any chicken after this talk is over.
Ah!
Dang.
Hey, Donovan, I can't fire you because I'm not paying you, but there you go.
No, it's so to answer your question, Chicago Bears number 85, Silky D Bears all.
Okay.
And that's the topic of the book, or actually the title for you.
Awesome.
And when you get an opportunity, you need to check it out because it talks about just about everything, and it eliminates doubts on certain questions that people have been asking for decades. And I can validate because I was in the same room sharing the same air. So there's no mistakes.
Very cool.
All right, so let's give this man a proper introduction.
Go for it.
So here we have with us undrafted free agent with the Chicago Bears, ends up being a starting slot receiver on a team that just obliterated the league with that 85 World Championship team out of Florida State University.
Florida State.
He's listed in your programs as number 85, but he's number 1 in your heart. Please welcome to the show, Silky D, Dennis McKinnon.
Man.
Oh, I just love my Carmel brother. Didn't he just so sexy right then? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Smooth Dave is awesome, man.
Yes, sir. Silk, welcome, brother. Hey, and so speaking of your blocking, wouldn't you say that was probably a key element to you making that team and sticking?
I think the fact that I did everything that nobody else would do, and the Bears offense at that time, even though they had Walter, they were considered soft. They had no passing game whatsoever. It was Peyton left, Peyton right, which was penned famously by Howard Cosell when it came to Monday Night Football. But we had wide receivers that really did not block anybody. And if you're going to be a downhill running football team, your guards who pull have to be able to turn their shoulders upfield. So that means that whether you're in a 4-3 or a 3-4 in terms of the front, whoever fills in support, the outside backer, the defensive end, or the safety, whoever's filling, that's who I had to block. And I took pride in that because I was blocking for Peyton, but it allowed us to be dominant. And we're still the only team that led the league in rushing 4 consecutive years in the 80s, hasn't been duplicated since.
Nice. Now, throughout your career, you played for some legendary coaches at Florida State with Bobby Bowden. You come to the Bears and you play for Mike Ditka. Then you go to the Cowboys and play for Jimmy Johnson for a year to end up your career. What was that like?
Oh, no. Let me add lib onto that. My career ended in Miami on Don Shula. People forget that.
Okay. Okay.
So I grew up in Miami. So for me, my idol back in those days was Paul Warfield. So for my life to come full circle, go from Chicago to Dallas to Miami and retire as a Dolphin, the script couldn't have been written any better other than the fact that it was an injury settlement that, that took my career from me at the age of 30. And I have no regrets. And I think the great thing about it is I blocked for Peyton, but I also got a block for Emmitt Smith, the only person alive that did both. And I did it with tremendous amount of pride. And the first pass that I caught in Dallas was from Troy Aikman against the San Diego Chargers at home, and it was a touchdown. And I still have that picture framed on my wall.
That's awesome.
Now, hey, speaking of touchdowns, that we can't talk about, this game and you, except that Monday night game in Minnesota when your quarterback came off the bench. Tell us what that was like.
So let's go back and look at the announcers. You look at Joe Namath, O.J. Simpson, Al Michaels were in the booth. Most people forget it was not a Monday night. It was a Thursday night special.
Thursday night, okay.
Thursday night special. McMahon was in traction all week. Wasn't going to play. Steve Fuller was that quarterback. Going into that game, I was leading the NFC in yards per catch and touchdown. Did not see a ball in the first half. We were sluggish. Anthony Carter was running by us defensively. Our defense, the great 46 defense, was getting manhandled by the Vikings in the first half. and we kind of had no life to us. And Jim was on the sideline pacing back and forth, saying major obscenities to Mike Dick about putting him in because the offense looked dead. And that sparked with Jim getting in the ball game in the third quarter. First pass to Willie Gault, 70 yards, but that wouldn't have happened without the block that Peyton made up. And people forget, Walter was exceptional in so many ways, but that play, and I said, that's the game that saved the Bears' 1985 season, because that game showed our vulnerability on our defense. And we, all, as an offense, saved our defense that night, but the defense still are the ones who get all the credit.
Sure.
And I want to keep it real. If we lose against Minnesota, we don't have the cloak of invincibility that year of being a dominant team, regardless of what happened in Miami in week 13.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah.
I remember watching that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was beautiful game. Certainly, Jim let it fly once he got in the game.
Yeah, Jim let it fly. Willie caught the 70-yard on the first play. The second pass was throwing a deep pass to Gault after a William Marsh interception. Willie drops it. Pass number 3 was a touchdown to me. Pass number 4 was a touchdown to me. And so I had 4 catches, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the second half.
Nice.
Wow.
And it's one of the only games that Gault and I had 100-yard receivers in the same game. But more importantly is the fact that game introduced who we were to the world. And I said, well, this is a team to be reckoned with, and I think that created fear in the league. And teams literally, before they even got on the field for pregame, had already lost the game. That's how intimidating we were.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fascinating. And I think for a lot of us who love this game, we would have wished that the Bears would have allowed us to be together for a few more years instead of us delivering a prize in terms of the Super Bowl trophy when it wasn't expected. And then the organization turned around and decided not to pay the best players that they had. The average age that year for us was 24 years old.
Wow.
We were babies, and everybody in the league feared us. And yet still, McCaskey said, well, it doesn't really matter what names on the back of those jerseys. We're sold out every week. So why should we pay those guys well? Because it's about creating a dynasty. Mm-hmm. They were at that point trying to save a buck as opposed to dominating the league, which we could have done during the 80s.
Yeah. Wow. So thinking about when you played and the state of the league today, what do you see big differences from when you played today?
The decimal point moved. Players now getting paid, and you don't even have to be good to get paid.
Yeah.
And so I will interject that the first player to change teams, to create free agency with Wilbur Marshall when he left to go to Washington in '87, 5 years, $6 million guaranteed. People don't remember that, but he was the first. And the strike in '87 created mass hysteria because now the league, based on what the court designate, is that what the league was doing was illegal. Created free agents for today's players in terms of the collective bargaining agreement. So today's player now, if your contract is up during my day, the team will offer you 10% increase, or they just cut you. Now, same guy goes on the open market. 31 teams get to bid on him.
Yep.
And the game became global. So we went across the ocean. NFL brand expanded. Each team now has more cap money to be able to go buy players. TV deals are so much bigger. And from that standpoint, a guy catching 30 balls in the slot today can get $4 million a year. During my era, that same guy might get $50,000.
Right.
Wow.
So you can never make up the difference in money, but you can't do anything about when you're born. And for former players, we want to see our guys get a lot of money. And I tell people that the one thing that you don't hear about is that when you are a team player, they always expect you to take a pay cut because that's called loyalty. But when they cut you, they call it business. And as a player, you need to understand the difference. Yeah. Always look out for you. Some guys will always say, well, it's just about my family. It ain't about your family because 9 times out of 10, your wife ain't working. It's always about you. Family is just a very good soundbite.
Yeah.
Man.
So I got a question for you. As far as when a player in this day and age in pro football, when they want to negotiate their contract before their contract is up, what's your stance on that? Do you think it's on a case by case basis, or do you think they should at least fulfill their agreement prior to say hold them out?
Oh, what agreement? Agreement don't mean jack. If there's a
Right.
back door to get out of it, think about it. Guys are not happy with the contracts they have. What do? They ask to be traded. Amazing how you can negotiate your way out of a deal you just signed last year to go somewhere else. If you're not happy, you're on a losing team. So I'm just going to just talk to the press and figure out a way to get out of here. One. And two, when I specify ownership will try to get everything they can out of you till they can't get anything else, and then they want to cut you. Yeah. There's no loyalty in sports. There just isn't. And from that perspective, you do everything you can to get every dollar you can. If you got to hold out, because there's only certain points in your career that you have leverage. Right. And when you have leverage, take full advantage of it, because the first chance they get to bend you over, they will.
Yeah, makes total
Man, Silky D always keep it real. Always keeps it real.
I love it. I mean, I get it. I mean, the beating that y'all have taken over your careers they're just.
Oh, let me correct you. The beatings that we used to take with the new collective bargaining agreement. First of all, there are no more 2 days.
Sure.
Okay, there are only maybe 12 or 13 practices where they can actually wear pads. They don't hit. They don't do conditioning after practice. If you watch them in games now, they don't even wear thigh or knee pads.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, by the way.
And so don't tell me about the integrity is one thing, but the safety, they don't touch anybody. And now, as a receiver, you can't touch me for 5 yards. So most guys can run down and turn around and throw me the ball.
Right.
The same guy who had 100 catches during my era was a bona fide Pro Bowler. The same guy today catches 100 ball. He averages 7 yards a catch, but he still goes to Pro Bowl. During my day, if you can't even average a first down, how do you go to the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
It's all about stats now. That's why there's DraftKings, there's fantasy football. All that money that the leagues that we could not have, we could not gamble, we could not bet on stuff. Well, they figured out, well, we're missing out on all this cash. So now that's why there's a team going to Vegas and the Raiders. And the league now has a partnership with DraftKings, because you know what? The league is the NFL is the biggest bully on the block. And every opportunity they get to make an extra dollar, they will find a way.
So the collective bargaining agreement just got approved by I don't know all ins and outs, but I know that they're deliberating the collective bargaining agreement right now. Am I correct with that?
They are deliberating, and the two main topics are defensive pass interference review. They're going to try to get rid of that. But the 17-game season, players are not going to agree to that unless there's a major pie added to the conversation.
Absolutely should.
Because at the end of the day, and Dave can validate this, what is preseason when nobody plays?
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where a guy who basically just has a uniform on, you're holding him out? Really? and as a taxpayer season ticket holder, if I'm paying for 2 extra games at home during preseason, I expect to see somebody that I know. Because if my guys are not going to play, give me back my money.
Yeah, I agree.
I see the need for, I guess, some preseason, but maybe 1 or maybe 2 games, but 4 games is ridiculous.
Well, you got to also understand, if they're not hitting at all during training camp,
right?
How are they going to look when they go in preseason? That's why basically they don't tackle well. They look so disorganized. And one thing about the body is it develops muscle memory based on contact. So if you haven't hit anybody, your tackle is going to be off. Your coordination is going to be off as well.
Have more injuries too.
And a lot of guys are going to have leg injury because you know what? They haven't been running for the last 4 months, or in this case, 4 weeks.
That makes sense.
So like I said, it has become now NFL training camps are nothing but adult daycare centers. That's all they are.
Wow. You said it. That's great. Hey, Smooth Dave, I want to take him back to 1985 to this team. And You guys were really fantastic football team, and when the regular season's over and you're getting ready for the playoffs, and you know you've got a chance to go Super Bowl, what kind of pressures change, Silky D? What does it change, or does you feel more pressure? What is the feelings you go through knowing you've got a possible chance to win that Super Bowl?
Well, I think that things are different today than my day. Just put it this way: when we went to the playoffs, at that time the Bears had no indoor facility, so we would have to go to a high school, or I'd take a buses way down to Illinois Champaign or University of Wisconsin to practice.
Unbelievable.
A professional team. That's how cheap the league was. Well, the Bears were, even though they have everything now state of the art. Regardless of the fact that you get an extra check during the playoffs, there's really no pressure on you, because if you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
And I think with that, the only pressure you have is now the request for tickets. First of all, family now bombards you. At that time, we had pagers. We didn't have these smartphones like you have today. You know,
Pagers.
and and so it was a little different. There was no internet in 1985. Think about that.
Right.
Yeah.
None. So to me, in real time, if you were not at the game, you almost didn't see it.
Wow.
And so it's a little different now, because there's so many avenues now where people can actually watch without physically being there. One. Two, the pie is so much bigger in terms of what you make. And for a lot of teams, and I think the Patriots did it best, if you can figure out a way to get the first round bye and get one extra week at home and be able to stay in your own bed, makes all the difference in the world, because now you only got to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for us during the 80s, we perfected how to make sure we got that first round bye. You know, and I think with that is the only really pressure you have is if your star players, if they're injured going into the playoffs, because timing is the one thing you need to work on. The other thing is that the only time people really put pressure on you is family, because you don't put pressure on yourself. I've already played the year. I know what I can do. I've seen all the tape and all the film on my opposition. I'm already mentally prepared. I just got to physically make sure that the body is ready, because we've gone through the 16-game season and I'm going to be sore. And at that time, you might have had a nurse or a therapist. Now they got a specialty coach, doctor for everything. So there is no excuse for these players today to not to be ready.
There you go.
Wow. I have a question.
Yes.
So as somebody that's never played any kind of organized, I say organized, after high school football and all that, and coaches were, I had one set of coaches in high school, one set of coaches in middle school. My question to you is, how important is coaching? Is it the X's and O's, or is it the Jimmys and the Joes? I mean, that's my question. For someone who's been in it and knows the importance of either the talent or the coaching, or is it both? I mean, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of ways of looking at it. If you don't have talent, you wouldn't be on the field. First thing.
Right.
Secondly,
I get you. Yeah.
Almost every player that gets to this level is good. If you got the right coach can make you great.
Gotcha.
Because most players today, you can even dial that back to high school. Everybody's got a highlight tape. I don't care about the highlight tape. I want to see the unedited version, because most clouds don't want you to see their flaws. Flaws, a good coach wants to know your flaws so he can teach you how to eliminate those and eliminate bad habits. That'll make you a better player. Because at that time, when I turn you over to the game, I can't coach you from the sideline. I'm hoping that I have prepared you to be great on Sunday or on Monday or on Thursday when it comes to the National Football League. So to me, a lot of guys are big and fast, but my question is, in an orchestrated setting, can I rely on you to be consistent at your craft based on what you learn, based on what your adjustments are, based on the front or the coverage? Can you immediately recognize and execute within a split few seconds, which is all you really have? And if you are, and you do it on a consistent basis, that tells you you've had great coaching. The National Football League might have 6 good teams. The rest of them are 8 and 8s.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that's predicated by 1 or 2 players, great quarterback, great running back. If you got those 2, you're always in a 10 to 12 game wins every year. If you don't, you're struggling just to be above 500.
As long as you have a good line.
Offensive line was major when the league was a running team. Now everybody's going to 3 to 4 wide with a tight end that's in a flex, which means he's not tight, he's out wide.
Right.
Because they're trying to isolate him one-on-one with a slow safety. Nobody's really running the ball. So now it's all about hot reads and get rid of the ball quick.
Right. But you do have to pass block. Maybe not all the time, but yes.
Well, the thing about it is you got great skilled athletes with a very good quarterback. You can protect your offensive line based on inefficiencies.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if you got a great line running downhill. Doesn't Dallas supposed to have the best line in football? Did they make the playoffs last year?
No.
Well, no, I mean they had the best paid line last year.
Well, so like I kind of tell people, don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
If you don't have skill, most teams are going to just put eight in the box and dare you to run the football, first and foremost. But almost every game plan now has gone to spread offense. The reason why Baltimore was so good last year is because people had not seen the Wildcat. That's really all Baltimore was running, with the Wildcat, with an exceptionally fast quarterback and an average running back.
That can throw.
Well, it's easy to throw the football downfield when every defensive player who's coming up to cover or to make a tap is hesitating because they don't know whether or not you're going to keep the ball or you're running it.
Right.
A lot of touchdowns that were created by Lamar Jackson last year were inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
A lot of tight ends have 2 and 3, 4-yard touchdown passes. Why? Because when you're running the zone read, you're going to tie up that defensive end, you're going to tie up that safety. Whether or not is he going to run it or you're going to pitch it. So that hesitation allows a tight end to be wide open. That's why I'll tell people all the time, if you watch the game, it hasn't changed in 100 years.
Yep.
Okay.
It's blocking and tackling.
All it really is about execution and scheme. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Smooth Dave.
Nice. So, Silky D, what are you up to these days?
Well, as I say, I'm out there hitting the pavement trying to do my book tour. I'm still helping charities that are in need. I do a lot of work with young men who are incarcerated who are about to be paroled. I do a lot of work with women dealing with domestic abuse. I deal with addiction, whether it's alcohol or drug abuse. I'm a counselor, I'm a therapist, and however they may be. I try to continue to do God's work because God continues to bless me. I'm semi-retired. I try to do appearances as much as I possibly can in terms of diversity, inclusion, the things that I speak on, which affects everybody in the world today. And when I'm not doing that, you'll find me in the gym trying to keep it right and tight.
Yeah.
Nice. And so, again, when you think about your book that you have out, number 85, Silky D Bears All, how can people get a copy of that if they're looking to read that?
Well, you can go to my website at barelyactive.com, and if you have PayPal, you can buy it directly from my website. Otherwise, you can go on Amazon, type in the title will come up, and you can buy it on Amazon. The difference with Amazon kind of takes all the cash. If it comes directly from my website, I keep a few more pennies to myself.
Good. Hey, what's the website?
Barelyactive.com, like it sounds, BEARLYACTIV.com. And like I said, that's where you can find the Silkster. The great thing about it allows me to be relevant, and Amazon allows me to be able to touch the world. And those who want to reach me without physically seeing me, they can do it via Amazon or online. And that's the great thing about social media.
Yeah. It's a good thing that they didn't have social media back in the day. Me and the Silkster used to hit the clubs a little bit every once in a while.
It was a quiet storm until me and Smooth Dave showed up.
There you go. Hey, I have one more question for you,
yes.
And we don't want to take up your time. And that
no.
I just have to ask this. You're going to tell me you're the greatest, and I believe that. I know that. I watched you play in '85 on TV. It's just awesome. But the receivers today, can you tell me one or two that just really make you go, wow, they are incredible? Is there two that you just absolutely go, wow?
The athletic ability is one thing. I'm a guy who believes in work ethic and a complete player. And when I look at today, I'm not so concerned about stats and speed and all that. I'm looking at a guy who can be great no matter where they put him. And the top of the list is Larry Fitzgerald.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
Bona fide star on and off the field. And everything that you want to see in an athlete and a man is Larry Fitzgerald. You might have some other players who put up more stats and always bitch about not getting the ball. Larry Fitzgerald was an all-pro receiver outside, and as he got over, they moved him inside because he's a blocking demon.
Yep.
And he puts the team first.
He's a big man too.
And oh yeah, well, if you've ever been on field level and look at how big these guys are today, it's frightening.
Oh my goodness.
But like I said, I'll take Larry Fitzgerald over just about anybody. And there's some great ones out there.
How about younger guys? Like
but when it comes to the cheetah, the fastest guy during my day was Willie Gault. But Tyreek Hill, it is wonderful watching Tyreek Hill. It's just I was really surprised he was allowed to play this year based on domestic abuse.
Right.
Yeah. And to me, that is a real bad reflection of the National Football League that if you are a great player, they have a way of looking the other way or changing the rules that allow you to play. And I don't really agree with that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I have a question now. So after the 85 Super Bowl beatdown that y'all did on the Patriots, which was the most awesome Super Bowl I ever saw in my life. And I'm a Cowboys fan. I mean, that team, no, I'm telling you. And I'm like a little kid right now because I could, like the whole defense, could probably tell you half the defense and names. This has been 30 plus years ago, and half the offensive names, including yourself, on the team. But how long did it go, or how long did you go until you had to pay for a meal in Chicago? My question.
I still haven't paid.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's awesome. Yes.
I mean, the thing about that is what I try to tell people is the 85 Bears are still one of the only Super Bowl champion teams that people can name the starting lineup on offense and defense.
You're right.
Most teams don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
And when you are a team that kind of got people to come back to the game, made it fun because we were a traveling circus. And you had Peyton. Everything was different then. And I think from that perspective is in this particular city, the reason why there's a new stadium is the 85 Bears. Is the reason why the Bears are still sold out is the 85 Bears. And I think with that, when I go outside Soldier Field now and I see George Halas, who created the National Football League, and Walter Payton statues standing next to each other. One thing you talk about when George Halas came into the National, when it was created, it was segregated.
Yeah.
And you think about the fact that Walter is immortalized right next to him, tells you about change. Change is inevitable. A lot of people don't want to address it. But when you talk about class and character, the face of the league is still sweetness. That's why the Walter Payton Man of the Year award is the highest honor you can get outside of the Lombardi Trophy. And I look at that, and that tells you a lot. A lot of times people don't want to give credit where credit is due. But what would the game be without the brothers?
Sure.
You got to give it where, and to me, there's not enough credit given to it. We are still celebrating Black History Month and the impact that Afro-American athletes have had on the game in all sports is a conversation that you can talk and never stop talking.
You can talk for weeks.
And I think so from that perspective, if you had an opportunity to put on a uniform, understanding the history, it allows you to smile and feel thankful that you've had an impact and you created a legacy that people will always talk about.
Amazing.
Yes, sir. And tell us what it was like to play with the man known as Sweetness.
Well, most people don't have the luxury that I had. I sat across from him every day for 6 years.
Wow.
And during the early 80s, I did not have a shoe contract. I was a walk-on free agent. So when you're looking at the Bears during the 80s, look at my shoes. I was wearing the kangaroo logos on my sneakers, or in this case, my shoes, and Walter allowed me to wear that. That's respect. And from that standpoint, you don't really realize how great he was until you see how the game has changed. When the number one thing that we looked at in the National Football League was about class and about character, that has now changed over into thugs.
Yeah.
Thugs everywhere. And so to me, the shield has a stain on it, and I'm hoping that they can clean it, because the NFL is not what it used to be. But Walter, oh my goodness. To me, he was a god. He was Superman with a cape, but he was always had his feet on the ground. And I think that's why people love him so much, and that's why he's a symbol of what the game is supposed to be. And I am thankful that I had an opportunity to call him my friend. That's why I took so much pride being his lead blocker for so many years.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
What a great man, and we certainly miss him tremendously. Certainly, what I remember about him is being a practical joker. So
Practical joker, and the one thing I will tell people that they don't know is Walter was a physical specimen. And during training camp back in those days, he would flip on his hands and walk the length of the field, and that's how we started practice.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. That's just nuts.
God,
Hey,
yeah.
Who can do that?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I remember being in his club one night. I think KC and the Sunshine Band was performing.
At 34s, yes.
Yeah,
I'm
34.
there.
I remember we were walking down the stairs and then pinching you on the butt.
Yeah, because at that time, and when it used to be, and Dave knows this, it used to be happy hour back in those days.
Yep.
In 34, Thursday night was ladies' night, and everybody knew that the players would be there on Thursday night. And the line would be 2 blocks long to try to get in. And way back then, Sweetness was making like $80,000 a night on ladies' night. And we had our pick of the litter. It was so much fun.
I bet.
I bet.
Hey,
I bet.
So that was
Shooting
Thursday.
fish in a barrel.
That was Thursday night, and on Wednesday we were at the Pacific Club for ladies'
Now,
night.
Yes.
now, Silky, did you ever get a chance to go when you were at Dallas? Did you ever go to Memphis, the jazz bar up in Addison? Did you go up there with any of the guys? Do you remember Memphis?
The only thing that I did collectively is, about Tony Roma's.
Yes.
And so I was able to get a hat, belt
All right.
buckle, and boots. Me and Troy Aikman and Emmett went to Tony Roma's to get footed. That's my I still have the same boots that I got in Dallas in 1990. I just have the soles refurbished every few years. But
That's
yes,
awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
and Smooth Dave knows this. Michael Irvin and I are from the same hometown.
I did not know.
And the fact is, if he did not have the list, he would have went to jail, back to the White House. But he's married to Sandy, my ex-girlfriend, and she stood by him after all those years and what he went through. I'm like, oh, she always wanted to have her a player. So when I see Michael, I said, well, how's Sandy? And I said, you know what? She couldn't have done better, because she made you a better man.
There you go.
He knows that the life that he has now, he should not have, because he was a true sinner. but then again, something about them Cowboys, they showed me how to stay in trouble.
That's great, man.
I really would like your thoughts on going back to college a little bit. What do you think about what they're doing about paying players?
No.
And what's your opinion
No.
on that?
I just think the fact that this generation now wants everything handed to them. They want to change all the rules. It's a very sensitive generation, and I think that there's a reason why it says student athlete. Because literally a lot of you kids got scholarships based on athletic ability, not necessarily being a student. If you want to get paid, if you actually graduate, a lot of these kids go for 4 years, they don't even graduate. If you graduate and you go play pro, the scholarship money that you got for 4 years, you should give that back to the school. And we don't have a problem paying you.
Wow.
But to me, the argument is not a matter of whether or not they get paid. You are an amateur. You're not supposed to get paid.
Yeah.
It's a very capitalistic entertainment industry. And that's how the NCAA is as crooked as the NFL when it comes to money.
I agree.
No ifs and buts about it. But my thing with that is when you start paying players, they already think they're invincible now. Imagine if you give them money. They don't want to listen to anybody. But no, I don't agree with that, because you start paying football players, you got to start playing any other student athlete in any sport. And now with the Me Too movement, that includes women.
Right. No, yeah.
Yeah, and I would think, I played sports in college, and I would think that the thing it takes away from, and I agree with you, by the way, 100%, is it takes away the part of the fun of growing up and getting to know your friends in college and playing on a team sport and all that stuff. All of a sudden it becomes an entitlement game, and you're in it for the money instead of the play. I
tell you, college is supposed to be the most fun you're ever going to have.
Yeah, exactly.
And you go to school not to get paid, you go to get laid. Let's be real.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness.
Perfect.
It's a Title IX issue too, like you said. As far as you open up Pandora's box. If you start like just the football players get paid, well, why aren't these other players getting paid? Now, the one thing I do think that they could be compensated on, and they've actually, their stipend or whatever you want to call it, they've actually increased that, which is good for their living wage or whatever. But so like jersey sales and their image, they're selling, number 9's jersey over their 4 years that they're there, and as long as they graduate, I think they should get a % of that after they graduate. Now, whether they go on to the NFL or not, I think it's something that
the problem that you have automatically is you're only going to have a few stars on your team that jersey is going to sell.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
but it's a team sport. So
correct.
To me, all those linemen that are no names that protect number 9, how come they shouldn't get paid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
So to me, when it's a team sport, everybody needs to be on the same scale. Because without your teammate, the guy next to you, you're not projected or protected.
Sure.
You don't become the name that you are without your teammates. So the issue with that is one thing. When you want to talk about Title IX and gender equity, which came about in we're going way back to the early 80s.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Women now have more of a voice. Laws are changed now to compensate and protect them. It never used to be this way.
Right.
So to me, when you have more women who are really half men playing sport, and you know what I mean by that. That's a delicate way of saying lesbianism, LGBTQ. It's what it is.
Yeah.
And to me, they believe that all the laws should be for them now. I'm like, well, my culture, you didn't change the law for us.
That's right.
Okay. So to me is that the conversation will constantly change. It'll only get worse when money's involved.
Yeah,
and I think because of that, you're never going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be some legal firm trying to take you to court to try to prove a point. And the game is supposed to be fun. And that's what it was all about. Right. It's just the way the world has moved now. Everybody who didn't say anything, did not have a voice, now wants to be on stage with their hand out.
Yeah.
And so all those players who come before you, retroactively, are you going to pay us?
Yeah.
We made money for the university too. Where's our money?
Yeah. Well, so the let's just say the person that says, I don't want to go to college, I just want to be a pro football player, and like let's just say the number 1 running back coming out of Florida, okay, says, I don't want to go to college.
All right. So hey, favorite catch that you remember. Maybe it's not even a catch that we think about, but it's a catch you remember and think about. Favorite catch.
I try to forget her because she broke my heart.
Okay.
Okay. This is my inside joke. But favorite catch?
Or maybe you had a couple, but one you remember distinctly. It just really, you play over and over. You just think about it. Everybody has that play.
No, I would say, let me think of one that probably the first quarter in the Fog Bowl. against the Philadelphia Eagles in '88.
Oh yeah, the fog ball.
And most people forget how dominant we were offensively the first half before the fog
rolled in. Yes.
And second half, I couldn't see anything. But that touchdown was in Sports Illustrated, and so that's the one I think I remember the most. Not only that, it was playoffs, and it allowed us to be one step closer to the Super Bowl. We ended up losing to Joe Montana and Jerry Rice in the conference championship. I still remember that Jerry Rice beat us like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so that's probably my most favorite touchdown catch. But for me, it's very easy to look back on catches because we didn't throw the ball that much.
Yeah, right. You're a running team. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, everybody's on the same bus. If you win, you win. If you don't, you're always going to complain. And I'd rather win and have less stats than have more stats and always sitting home during playoff time.
Yeah, because the things unseen that happen on a field aren't necessarily the things seen, as I say. The block, the key block, the something you did that was small but not noticeable. It let you guys notice it, but not the public, right? Just little things. Good, fun.
Well, that's why I was saying the film doesn't lie. Your teammates know you better than anybody else. And, and at least we know at that point back then, every dime we got, we earned, as opposed to what free agency has done to the game. Because the free agency has made guys believe they're better than they actually are. And if you are the fifth alternate to go to the Pro Bowl, you're not a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I agree.
So many teams advertise guys who are the fifth alternate. I'm like, that's not a Pro Bowl. That means everybody who they pick decided not to go.
Right. That's right. Hey man,
well,
it's been a pleasure, man.
I want to thank you for coming on our podcast. We'll get excited. I'll send Dave a link to send you, and we appreciate it, and we'll share it out. I'll also link your website if you don't mind. And
no, but like I said, you guys need to promote more, and there should be other opportunities to be able to promote your show and be able to be in contact with you. But like I said, I'm always available to talk, and we're in the off season now, and everybody's down in Indianapolis for the combine. Looking forward to the draft and seeing what the Bears do. And I found it fascinating here in Chicago that Coach Nagy, we might have had 8 or 9 head coaching changes on our team, and there was a new offensive coordinator, a new wide receiver coach, a new running backs coach, a new tight end coach. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, Trubinsky is still trying to figure out what's going on, but Nagy's still going to call plays. And I'm like, so you're that arrogant that you don't want to relinquish power. Understand that Trubinsky, as long as he never saw it, whenever he put his hands on his helmet, Nagy was in his head, and he could never play well. You need to get out of the kid's head and let him play. He's a mobile quarterback who can't read defenses, so you can't have him sitting in the pocket. But Nagy is a validation. Just because you are on Andy Reid's staff doesn't make you great. You're an average coach that someone gave you a head coaching job. And one thing I learned about when I being down in Florida State with Bobby Bowden, surround yourself with people that are great at what they do. You might have final decision, but find guys who will always protect your weakness. Nagy's weakness is he's not the smartest man in the room, and he believes that he is.
Interesting.
Yeah. Excellent, man. Well, I appreciate it, brother. And, man, I got great love for you. We go way back.
Yes, man.
And we appreciate you taking your time this evening to be with us. And, look forward to seeing you.
And the thing that I always tell people is that no matter what, conversation is what the world is about, because it allows you to break bread, allows you not to have a mindset that's already predetermined. Is you get a chance to listen and bounce things off each other, and you communicate. That's what's missing in the world. Nobody talks as much as they should. And I think with that, sports allows you to be unbiased. You can be convicted in terms of who you love and who you support, but it's a very good argument to have. Yes, it is. And I said, so next time I want to talk about baseball, because there's a whole lot of controversy going on now, and I find it fascinating.
We do too.
Cheaters should never be rewarded. Never.
I agree.
Exactly.
100%,
brother. Thank you, my brother.
All right.
Appreciate
God
it.
bless.
Thank
And
you, sir.
we will talk soon. Have a great guy.
Excellent.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
time,
All right.
guys.
Thanks, Silky
Thank you.
D.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Man, what a night. That was beautiful.
Very cool.
You know,
Yes.
it's kind of nice to have somebody on that's true, that kind of will debate with you a little bit and put his opinion out there, and that's what I like. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the way he challenges life. It's incredible, you know.
Yes. Excellent, man.
Smooth
So
Dave,
it's
I
good.
can't thank you enough for getting Silky D on. I mean, for all of us that I was, let's see, 85. I was in my 20s, 30s, and I remember that football team like they played yesterday.
Yeah.
I was 13 and I remember it like it was
Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great group of guys, man. Great group of guys.
So Dave,
Excellent.
I'm going to change all the band. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the Internet Sports Broadcast Network with Donovan, Smooth Dave, Hurdie. Our other sidekick, Todd, had a pre-scheduled engagement tonight and couldn't make it, but we had Silky D on from the 1985 Chicago Bears World Championship team. Doesn't get any better than that. You guys have a great evening. Say good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.